Alright, Lobries and Gentlegrams, in today's episode of Lobry in Gentleland, Aubrey, the over-emotional onion-eyed oaf, got obliterated at the Oscars almost as outrageously as he did on the Super Bowl stage, where the short-statured sharpshooting assassin and Serena swung, slashed, and slaughtered his soul. Both Conan the Cackling Carrot and the Compton Kung Fu Killer crushed the petty petition padre, painting him as a perpetual prom queen predator, a weepy wannabe warlord with washed-up woes. And now we dive into how Sandra's son, the spiraling, sensitive, sexy red stunt double, slinks and sulks, settling lawsuits while soaking in sorrow from the Oscars diss, possibly even more than when Riri revoked his Romeo role and rejected his kiss. Now drop a like and subscribe for more Rapaholics clips that you don't want to miss, because we got a lot to break down today, Lobries and Gentlegrams. Every time I think it's time to move on, talk about something else, give you guys a story not related to the champagne petition prom queen, phony Montana Padre, he does something else ridiculous, or someone clowns him, or the legal team of the certified litigator cook up another courthouse classic for the Canadian Karen. Drake can't escape the clowning, and I can't escape commenting on it.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
So it's been a big month for major moments on national television. I haven't tuned into cable this much since I was a kid in Canada watching the phony Montana on Degrassi.
And that is why you never try and beat the master at his own game.
Well, I thought you were the sensitive artiste/clothing designer now.
When will you learn? I'm everything.
I'm kidding, I never watched that show, but I have a question for you guys. What does Degrassi, the Grammys, the Super Bowl, Saturday Night Live, and the Oscars all have in common? Well, each of these television programs made the balded, bearding, belligerent BBL buffoon look like a bigger clown. First, he threatened to sue Degrassi when they put his character in a wheelchair. Then, he actually sued his record label over Kendrick's diss track, Not Like Us. There's some new updates on that lawsuit we'll touch on later in this video, but ever since he dropped that lawsuit, it's been an onslaught of losses for Lobry, ranging from Kendrick winning 5 Grammys, all for Not Like Us, that song becoming the most awarded hip-hop song in Grammys history, with Taylor Swift singing the song word for word as Kendrick went up to accept one of the awards on stage. That song alone racking up more Grammys than his Pulitzer Prize winning album Damn. And after the Grammys, it was straight to the Super Bowl stage, where the senator of the sexy red stunt double Cemetery and Serena Williams slaughtered the Ovi Ho. And while every Ovi Ho tried to make you think that the crowd was silent while Kendrick performed, you can't deny that they definitely made the most noise where it counted. Then you had Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary, where the diss song found its way out of the music industry and out of lawsuits and into the hands of comedians like Will Ferrell. On a side note, I don't know who knew the lyrics to Not Like Us better, Will Ferrell or Taylor Swift. But now Not Like Us finds its way to the Oscars, where an audience of over 18 million US viewers watched as comedian Conan O'Brien made this joke.
Well, we're halfway through the show, which means it's time for Kendrick Lamar to come out and call Drake a Don't worry, I'm lawyered up.
Now, what I believe he's referencing in this joke is the fact that midway through Kendrick's Super Bowl performance, he started teasing Not Like Us.
Yeah, that song.
And then by the end of the show, he really did it. Now, of course, this joke had the Ovi Hoes up in absolute flames, claiming this has all been a calculated industry attack, with each award show or national sporting event pushing the PDF propaganda of the champagne petition padre even further. But there's a couple things here, right? Firstly, just like Kendrick Lamar, Conan never actually called Drake a PDF. On Not Like Us, Kendrick said, certified lover boy certified PDF files. Plural. He could be talking about anyone. And Conan said it's the time of the show for Kendrick to call Drake a PDF file. He wasn't calling Drake anything. He was just acknowledging that at this point in history, the entire world is chanting a song that has gone far beyond the depths of a rap battle and insinuates that within Drake's crew, there could be some strange activity going on. But to anyone calling this a conspiracy theory, a big plot from these corporate giants to take down Drake, you gotta realize all of this damage can't simply be attributed to a bunch of bots on Spotify, putting up fake streams to Not Like Us. This comes down to one of two things. Number one, this obviously being an undeniable smash hit. That's the reason it won him this battle. That's the reason why you see Taylor Swift singing it word for word, or Beyonce's Child singing it word for word. It's become a cultural catchphrase that has expanded far beyond Drake. That's why you're seeing it at soccer games. That's why you're seeing, the entire football stadium at the Super Bowl chanting A minor. That's not because everyone in that stadium thinks Drake is a PDF. It's because everyone in that stadium thinks the song is great. And then number two, the second real reason why this song has exploded far beyond a rap beef and has made its way into jokes at the Oscars is because of the comedic element of the fact that Drake morphed into a courthouse Karen. The meme is no longer you lost a rap battle. The meme is you lost a rap battle so bad that you had to go on and sue. You pushed this other rapper, Kendrick Lamar, to talk about you liking young girls. This is a quote directly from your own diss record, Taylor Made Freestyle. He ends up using that ammo that you gave him to put out the biggest, catchiest diss record of all time, with allegations that are atrocious, but whether true or not, you made allegations that were also atrocious. Kendrick abusing his fiance, infidelity, his wife cheating on him with his manager, his kid not really being his. If you had it your way and the roles were reversed, people would be making jokes at the Oscars about Kendrick raising a child that was actually conceived by the guy who raised him within the music industry. Yeah, these allegations are bad, but it's a rap battle, right? You made allegations that were also terrible. You just didn't make the best song to come out of this battle. But it's the fact that you're suing over that song that has the CEO of Universal Music Group high-fiving Dr. Dre as Kendrick goes up to win Grammy Awards for it. Or the reason why Conan O'Brien is not on that Oscar stage calling you a PDF, but instead making a joke about the fact that because he mentioned this rap battle with Kendrick Lamar, he might now also be a victim to one of your lawsuits.
Don't worry, I'm lawyered up.
You gave people this ammo. Yeah, Not Like Us is a great song, but Kendrick wouldn't be able to say this on the Super Bowl stage if he didn't file a lawsuit.
I want to perform their favorite song, but they love to sue.
This beef wouldn't have expanded so far if you didn't pull the unprecedented move of suing over a diss song. Even your biggest glazer, DJ Akademiks, had no defense when your lawsuit was initially published. This was his reaction.
This lawsuit, I can't see it, bro. I just can't see it. I can't see Drake winning it. I can't see it helping him PR-wise. Like, I'm just confused. And this is why I don't want to speak remotely for Drake with this. This just doesn't make any damn sense. You trying to cite reasons for the lawsuit by saying they called you a colonizer is like, come on. Bro, I really just don't know, bro.
But now, of course, Akademiks has been able to concoct any excuse in the book to defend Drake for anything he does. And while that petition was first fresh off the printing press, Akademiks had no defense for it. In the short time span of a month and a half, Drake has stacked up so many L's since then that Akademiks has now had enough time to sit on this and assess the extent of the damage and come up with one of the most ridiculous, hypocritical defenses of this lawsuit I've ever heard. So while he first said this was a terrible move for Drake, he's now doubling down on the fact that he thinks the lawsuit is good, but not only is it good, he thinks Drake shouldn't have sued UMG, but instead he should have sued Kendrick Lamar for implying that he may have been a PDF.
I think he should have sued Kendrick, not UMG. Here's the thing, man. I'm going to be honest with you.
And this guy calls himself a hip-hop journalist. He was the face of the streaming community during the beef just because of the fact that obviously Drake was sampling him in his diss records, and then Kendrick Lamar was actually name-dropping Akademiks in his diss records. You think that the new precedent, the new standard should be that if a rapper doesn't like the allegations made against them in a diss song, in a song in general, they should now have the right to go out and sue? What does that say about how you actually feel about the safety and protection of creative expression and how you feel this record should be treated in the future? If Drake is allowed to sue his record label over this song and actually win, let alone sue Kendrick like you were implying, this would cause irreparable damage within hip-hop and basically restrict any rapper or artist in general in the future from freely expressing anything they want to say within their art. But what's worse than this is Akademiks doesn't just think that artists should run the risk of being sued over their lyrics. He thinks that their entire life should be at risk over rap lyrics. He believes that because Kendrick won so bad, it would be morally acceptable for Drake to end Kendrick's life with a firearm.
I think the reality is what the idea, the term, and there's trigger words, predator, what else? Like, there are certain shit when niggas start calling you that. If Drake seen Kendrick and shot him, I would completely get it. So if he filed a lawsuit, I ain't that mad either. I'm sorry to say.
Now, don't forget the energy that the entire world had for another comedian, not Conan O'Brien, but instead Andrew Schulz, when that non-hilarious, horrible haircut hooligan was caught in a little kerfuffle with Kendrick. So again, let's get this straight. Because comedians like Conan O'Brien were on stage saying that Kendrick called Drake a PDF, and now he's lawyered up in case Drake tries to come at him and sue him. According to the biggest OV-ho, Akademiks, this is enough for Drake to hit Kendrick with a firearm. But way back in November when Kendrick released GNX, he had a song called Whacked Out Murals, where he spoke on what many presume to be Andrew Schulz when he rapped, "Don't let no white comedian talk about no black woman, that's law." So people thought this was a response to a joke that Andrew Schulz made about men who date black women going bald because of the stress that dating these women brings them, or growing a beard as a cushion to protect them from these women hitting them.
Had a black girlfriend, all of a sudden he's got buzz cut, like
clean
shape up.
They shave their hair because they start losing it. Because they're so stressed being around this black girl complaining about it all the time. That's why they gotta shave their hair.
Nah, bro, white guys with black girlfriends, they
grow a beard because there's more cushion when they get slapped the out of.
And Akademiks, who's now saying that this joke that Conan made is enough for Kendrick to be sued by Drake and to get hit with a firearm by Drake, when Andrew Schulz made that joke and then Kendrick mentioned him, Akademiks said that Kendrick was too woke to take a joke.
I hit Andrew Schulz about that. And I think his reaction was, he's like, yo, is this guy too woke to understand a joke?
And Schultz's response to this Kendrick bar, in retaliation, he said that Kendrick, because of his short stature, I mean, he is the short-statured assassin after all, would be fondled by Schulz against his will because he is too short to fight back, and all he could do is establish whether it was consensual or not. Now, I don't know about you guys, but to me, that sounds like a much more extreme joke than Conan O'Brien saying that Kendrick called Drake a PDF, and Drake might now sue Conan for even mentioning that. And this was the OV-ho community's reaction to the Andrew Schulz joke. One of them said, "I love Andrew Schulz down bad the way he's going in on Kendrick. Pause or no pause, I don't care. He's literally making a joke out of Kendrick. I love that as a Drake fan." Another one said, "Kendrick gotta be behind the whole woke agenda. People can't take a joke from a real life comedian. Hope Andrew cooks him on the next special." And then the biggest OV-ho propaganda pushing machine, Akademiks TV, which on a side note, I don't know if this is ran by Akademiks himself or he just greenlights all these posts, but they're all a sponsored steak ad, and it's almost a parody account at this point, basically defending Drake in any way they could. When Schulz made that joke, they said Andrew Schulz says Kendrick's people could beat him up, but if he was with Kendrick in a cell, he could easily make love to him, with a laughing emoji. So again, when Kendrick's at the butt of the joke, no pun intended, everything is all good, it's all funny, and anyone who doesn't like the joke is simply too woke. But now, when it's a joke made about Drake, this same Twitter account, Akademiks TV, pushes these insane narratives saying 14-year-old Emmett Till was dragged from his house and was kidnapped, tortured, and other horrible things by a mob of white people after falsely being accused. Conan O'Brien today accused Drake of R-wording A minor at the Oscars, and the culture celebrated and laughed. LOL, is this what the culture's feeling, lying on innocent black men? And they got corrected by community notes saying Conan did not accuse Drake of any crime. He did, however, state that Kendrick has accused Drake. I mean, to really go as far as to compare a joke made at the Oscars to the horrible situation of Emmett Till, all to defend Drake, when 2 months ago you guys were saying that Kendrick was too woke to take a joke, but somehow it'd be okay for Kendrick to hit Drake with a firearm over a joke made about him? Which one is it, man? But let's move on. While we have Drake getting destroyed at the Oscars, he's also extremely down bad with his gambling addiction, which, on a side note, that, along with some other horrible accusations, were all made on Meet the Grams, but because that song never garnered the popularity that Not Like Us did, of course Drake didn't actually care about the criticisms within the song, he just cared about Kendrick outdoing him on the charts. So we're gonna get to that because Kendrick continues destroying Drake on the charts, but in the meanwhile, Drake posted on Instagram saying, "Members, we're down so bad on stake, so I am solely posting this for $2 million credit to spin slots. Please keep scrolling." So yeah, it's good. Keep promoting gambling addiction to fuel your own gambling addiction. Now, at the same time, there was a lot of talk about Kendrick's crazy run on the charts as of recent weeks, especially since Drake just released an album, but Kendrick's GNX, which was released 3 months ago, still continues performing as strong as Drake's album did in its first week of release. And of course, the OV host chalked this up to Kendrick having bots on Spotify. Obviously, that's what Drake was accusing Spotify of in his pre-action petition, stating that Universal Music Group teamed up with Spotify to artificially boost the numbers of Not Like Us with a bunch of botted streams. So of course, any success that Kendrick is having, anytime he's beating Drake on the charts, of course it's some big conspiracy with a bunch of bots from these record labels to tear Drake down, right? Well, Spotify has actually made adjustments to all their streaming numbers for a bunch of tracks on their platforms, and any song that had botted streams or fake streams, all of those streams were removed off the platform. And what's interesting to note is that no major hip-hop artists had their numbers affected by this change, which means that no hip-hop songs, as far as the ones that Spotify had scanned, were subject to any botted or fake streams, which obviously means Kendrick Lamar did not experience any loss in streams from his catalog following Spotify's recent adjustments to their streaming numbers where they removed the bots. So I think it's time that rumor, that conspiracy can now be put to rest, and at the same time, Kendrick Lamar was the most streamed rapper of February on Spotify with over 1.76 billion streams across all his songs. It was the biggest streaming month for any rapper on the platform in over 1 year. You can also see, if you want a good idea of what people are listening to today, with Drake's massive catalog of over 15 albums on Spotify. These are the albums that on a daily basis are getting the most amount of streams in March of 2025. At the top of the list, you have GNX. Right below that, you have Drake's brand new album, Some Sexy Sleepy Songs for You, which again was only released less than 3 weeks ago and is still getting outstreamed on a daily basis by GNX, which was released over 3 months ago. You also have a bunch of other Kendrick Lamar albums like Damn at the top of this list with 6.9 million streams per day, the Black Panther soundtrack, then Good Kid, Mad City. All these albums released almost 10 years ago, if not more than 10 years ago. And it's only far below at the bottom do you see another Drake album with Views and then Take Care. None of his newer albums, no For All the Dogs, no Certified PDF File album, no Her Loss or Her Lawsuit, no Honestly Never Mind. Honestly Never Mind because the Champagne Petition Padre will sue. To put it in perspective, Kendrick has released only 2 albums this decade. Meanwhile, Drake has released 6 projects in the 2020s. Meanwhile, on a daily basis in 2025, Kendrick has 4 albums that are getting the most daily streams on Spotify, while none of the Drake albums from the 2020s, except for the brand new album that was released 3 weeks ago, are even on this chart. And if you want to look at monthly listeners, Kendrick right now has the 4th most monthly listeners on Spotify of any single artist, the most of any rapper in history with 110 million streams, and Drake is 30 million listeners below him with 81 million. It shows you again this massive shift is happening, and ever since this beef, Kendrick has been clobbering Drake on the charts. Drake settled his petition with Spotify where he accused them of using bots on Not Like Us. That petition was fully settled, but Not Like Us still didn't lose any of its streams, showing that there was no actual bots on the song. So why else could they have settled that petition aside from the fact that there is no proof that Spotify actually botted any of the streams for that record? Also, on next week's Billboard chart, this new Drake album keeps falling lower and lower, with Drake having the top 10 biggest fall-offs on next week's chart. Somebody Loves Me is falling 30 spots, down 39%. Give Me a Hug is falling 45%. Something About You falling 46 spots. CN Tower falling 52%. His song Deeper falling 52%. Absolute lullaby music from the loss-laden litigator certified lawyer boy. And to answer all you OV-ho conspiracy theorists who were claiming that, the success of Not Like Us was due to botted streams, I think this tweet sums it up perfectly. Kendrick just F Drake in a rap beef, made the biggest song of the last year, won 5 Grammys out of it, dropped an album, performed in the Super Bowl, and people are really wondering how he is gaming those numbers on Not Like Us. I just heard a school bus play Not Like Us. You can also see here, this is the widest margin that Kendrick has ever beaten Drake in terms of the most streams in a single month, with Kendrick being at the top of the list, 1.6 billion streams this month, and Drake being second, even though he dropped an album this month, having 1.57 billion streams. There's almost a 200 million stream discrepancy, even though Drake just released an album, Kendrick hasn't released one in 3 months. And just to show you guys again the impact of Not Like Us, look at how many Grammys that Kendrick has per project he's ever released. To Pimp a Butterfly is the most Grammy awarded album he's released with 6 Grammys. Then you got Damn with 5, Black Panther soundtrack with 1. Good Kid, Mad City, they're really sleeping on. It was never awarded a single Grammy. Mr. Morale got 3, but then Not Like Us alone, one song alone, got 5 Grammys, and it was the only one to win in any of the main categories. Kendrick beats another Drake record, as GNX with 14 weeks is now the second rap album with the most consecutive weeks charting in the top 5 of the Billboard 200 chart this decade, surpassing Certified Lover Boy, which had 13 weeks in the top 5. And even though Drake just released a brand new album, Some Sexy Sleepy Songs, Kendrick dethroned him at the top of the Spotify US Artist chart, going back to number 1, knocking Drake down to number 2. Oh, and if you thought all this clowning of Drake from these comedians was bad, look at these tweets back in 2016 of Meek Mill. Like, the try to strike a chord and it's probably A minor line is just the is that a world tour your girls tour line on steroids. GNX was also the most streamed rap album of February on Spotify with 620 million streams. It had almost 3 times more than the next closest rap album of that month. And again, I'm just showing you guys all this to amplify the fact that you can't simply chalk this up to UMG artificially boosting the numbers of this song, or that it's some big witch hunt from the industry to try to eliminate Drake. This is really just the people listening to the music they want to listen to, and hip-hop shifting from the formulaic trap and TikTok bangers to actual music with substance and strong subject matter.
Babe, I got this to wear out tonight. We go look at a dishwasher.
Hey, Drake.
How you think it's going to go?
I heard him like you. Heard him.
Daddy, heard you like them young.
Heard you like him young.
Cell block 1.
Cell block 1.
Listen, do you think that I should do the dance when I go in the store?
Really makes me excited to see what we get in 2025 and onward from some of hip-hop's biggest superstars. But I think the funniest thing of all, and the thing that speaks volumes to public sentiment and where everyone shifted after this beef, is the fact that 30 minutes after Drake released his red button to the world, Family Matters, the song he thought would detonate and end it all, the song that many OV hoes are calling the best song out of the rap beef, a lot of people saying was the best actual rapping performance from the rap beef, that moment a quick 30 minutes later was destroyed by Kendrick when he released Meet the Grams. And now Meet the Grams in March of 2025 officially passes Family Matters in Spotify streams. It's now the second least streamed song from the entire beef that's released on Spotify and surpasses Family Matters, which means that Family Matters is now the lowest streamed song from the entire rap beef. That was supposed to be the red button that destroyed Kendrick's career. But what was most definitely the red button on Drake's career was this massive lawsuit against UMG, right? And we have some updates on that, because initially what Drake did was he filed 2 petitions. One of them was aimed at UMG and Spotify. One of them was aimed at UMG and iHeartMedia. A petition is basically a filing where he's requesting internal documents from all these corporations to see if the information he gets is enough to actually build up a valid case, take it to trial with a full-fledged lawsuit. If you guys have been keeping up with the channel, you know that Drake essentially came to a settlement with Spotify on his petition against them. Does that mean that they let him do some digging into their documents and he was satisfied with what he saw and they shook hands and walked away? We don't know, right? We don't actually know what went on behind closed doors. But he recently settled his second petition with iHeartMedia, and we have a little bit of a better glimpse into what went on with that situation. So essentially, again, he had these 2 petitions, but then he also filed a full-fledged lawsuit that was strictly aimed at UMG and obviously accused them, since they're the record label of both Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Drake claims that his own record label put him in a dangerous situation when they released and promoted Not Like Us, which pushed, as he put it, these false narratives of him being a PDF, which put his life, his career, his reputation, his financial situation in danger. And he claimed that they used iHeartMedia, which is a radio and media company, to essentially push the song's airplay and radio spins. Drake suspects that iHeartMedia may have played a role in promoting Not Like Us through potentially illegal methods. Specifically, he wants to determine if iHeartMedia was paid by UMG to increase the song's play on radio, and if so, whether those payments were disclosed to the public as required by law. Because a record company is allowed to pay a radio station for play, but that obviously has to be disclosed publicly. So now the other day, he decided to actually end his legal conflict with iHeartMedia. We're going to go through a couple different sources, the first one being Hot New Hip Hop, where they claim that the rapper's legal team confirmed that a settlement has been reached and both sides are satisfied. The details have been scant, but the settlement arrives at a precarious time for the iHeartMedia company. Drake's legal team confirmed that the settlement was amicable and benefited their client and the media brand. They said, "We are pleased that the parties were able to reach a settlement satisfactory to both sides and have no further comment." Initially, iHeartMedia had declined to comment on the agreements, and the details of the settlement hadn't been revealed. And at the same time, iHeartMedia was also under investigation by the FCC for allegations of boosting artist spins in an effort to get them play on the iHeart Country Festival. Essentially, through iHeartMedia's country music radio division, they were accused of, some shady tactics there to artificially push some country artist songs on radio. Nothing to do with hip hop, but obviously it's a weird reflection. If they're accused of some funny business in the country side of things, what's to say that they didn't also conduct that same sort of funny business with Not Like Us on the hip hop or pop side of things? Well, just a couple hours ago, we get some new news, which take with a grain of salt. We're going to scan a couple different sources, but this one again comes from Hot New Hip Hop, which says that Drake admits iHeartMedia did nothing wrong as both sides finalized their settlement. An alleged source at iHeartMedia reportedly spoke to Rolling Stone on the matter and said, and I quote, "In exchange for documents that showed iHeart did nothing wrong, Drake agreed to drop his petition. No payments were made by either one of us." Now, the court documents don't specify this. However, it did state in the documents, petitioner Drake and iHeartMedia have reached an amicable resolution of the dispute to the satisfaction of both sides. We are pleased that the parties were able to reach a settlement satisfactory to both sides and have no further comment on the matter. So, according to this source from the Rolling Stone that was directly from iHeartMedia, apparently no party paid one another. According to this source, iHeartMedia did nothing wrong, and because of that, Drake agreed to drop the petition. But if that was the case, then how would his lawsuit with UMG still stand, right? If he's settling with Spotify and settling with iHeartMedia, the two major distributors or platforms that UMG paid to highly advertise this music, if they didn't do anything wrong, then where did UMG actually go and do something wrong, right? If iHeartMedia didn't take any illegal payments from UMG, if Spotify didn't take any illegal payments from UMG, then what did UMG do that was illegal in terms of promoting or publishing Not Like Us? Well, one of the Drake fan accounts who has been reporting this entire lawsuit on Twitter, they claim that the source that Rolling Stone claimed they had from iHeartMedia that said that there were never any requests from iHeartMedia for Drake to pay them, no payments were made, and no wrongdoing was done by iHeartMedia. This OVHO account claims that these claims are false by Rolling Stone, saying last week several outlets, including Vibe magazine, falsely reported that Drake withdrew key allegations against UMG. This week, Rolling Stones is falsely reporting that Drake sued iHeartMedia and reporting false details of the settlement they reached. The agenda is clear. It makes you wonder why so many outlets are going out of their way to provide false information for a case they claim is frivolous. Now, it's unclear where this account got the confirmation that this Rolling Stones source was false that claimed that, Drake admitted iHeartMedia did nothing wrong when they settled, but we're going to report both sides, right? I might be biased in my music opinions, but we're not going to be biased when we report this legal case. We're just going to see how everything unfolds. And there was another interesting update to it as Drake's legal team, just as they settled with iHeartMedia, they now doubled down on their claims that UMG engaged in quote-unquote unlawful efforts to turn Not Like Us into a viral mega hit with a newly submitted 26-page motion for discovery. Now, the motion, which was also filed in Bexar County District, which is the same place he filed the petition against iHeartMedia, it now requests a deposition of a UMG representative for maximum 4 hours on Not Like Us promotion tactics, UMG's agreements with iHeartRadio, streaming services, and Texas-based radio stations, promotional deals with influencers, methods for boosting social media engagement, including bots, financial transactions with Texas-based entities, and UMG's overall business presence in Texas. It also requests documents on UMG's Not Like Us promotion strategy, financial records tied to licensing and revenue in Texas, and all meetings held in Texas since January 1st, 2024, where Not Like Us, Drake, or Kendrick Lamar were discussed. Now, it's going to be really interesting if Drake is actually able to obtain this information and then we actually get to see it unfold in a court of law. Right now, again, there's been no concrete evidence that Drake has brought forth that iHeartMedia, UMG used any sort of bots or payola to artificially boost the numbers of Not Like Us. This is all hearsay and accusations from Drake's legal team. He's requesting these documents, these depositions and information to see if there's any validity to his claims. Seeing this unfold will really let the public get a peeled back curtain into all of the business practices of UMG, especially with how they interacted with Kendrick's team to overall promote Not Like Us, and ultimately see the extent, if any, to which they, illegally, artificially boosted its numbers. We know botting is a very common practice within the music industry. We know if they've played that game with Kendrick, they've likely played it with Drake multiple times. I've named in many previous videos multiple instances of Drake's face getting plastered all over Spotify, almost to the extent that it seems artificial. But seeing it unfold will definitely be interesting. And at the same time, Kendrick's Not Like Us, in less than a year of being released, has now sold over 8 million units in the United States. 8 million. That means that song has generated over $8 million in less than a year. It's no wonder why every time that's the song that Drake hears, he begins to shed some tears. Let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you in the next one.